The sky above Earth was filled with an eerie glow. Alien ships, larger than any human craft, slowly descended towards the planet. The people below had no idea what was coming. The world was about to change forever. As the ships neared, the atmosphere trembled. Massive metal structures, shaped like triangles and discs, appeared in the sky. Their engines hummed in a low, menacing sound, and the air crackled with tension. The first wave of ships landed in various parts of the world: cities, forests, mountains, and oceans. They arrived like thunder in a clear sky, without any warning. The alien forces that stepped off their ships were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Towering figures with thick armor and glowing eyes, they were built for war. Their weapons were sharp, cold, and precise. They moved like a well-organized army, and their eyes scanned the earth with the cold, calculating gaze of conquerors. The alien leader, known only as Drak, stood at the front of the landing party. His body was a towering mass of metal and muscle, with a face that was both terrifying and majestic. Drak was used to winning. He had conquered countless worlds, and Earth would be no different. He believed it was just a matter of time before the planet would fall to his will. As he scanned the planet below, he chuckled to himself. The humans were no match for his advanced technology. Their cities were nothing compared to the mighty ships and weapons his people possessed. The people on Earth were primitive in comparison, barely able to defend themselves from the forces of nature, let alone an invasion of this magnitude. "We'll crush them in days," Drak said, his voice deep and heavy, echoing through his helmet. He turned to his officers, who stood in formation around him. "Begin the invasion. Leave no survivors." The aliens spread out across the globe, setting up their bases of operation. Their technology was overwhelming. Each base was equipped with shields that could stop any human weapon and weapons that could wipe out entire cities in seconds. Drak's plan was simple: destroy human resistance, capture the leaders, and enslave the planet. Back on Earth, the first wave of the attack came without warning. The news stations reported on strange lights in the sky. Then came the sounds, loud, deep rumbles that shook entire buildings. The citizens of Earth looked up, terrified, as they saw the massive ships slowly descending, blocking out the sun. Panic spread like wildfire. Governments scrambled to respond, but they were no match for the alien forces. Military jets were sent into the sky, but they were quickly destroyed by the alien ships. Tanks, soldiers, and weapons from Earth's vast armies couldn't even scratch the surface of the alien armor. It was clear, Earth stood no chance. As the alien forces moved through cities and towns, the humans tried to fight back. But it was useless. Alien technology was far more advanced, and their soldiers were trained in ways humans couldn't even begin to understand. Cities fell one by one, with the invaders showing no mercy. Buildings were torn apart, streets were burned, and people were captured. The human race was on the brink of extinction. Drak stood atop a hill, overlooking the city below. His forces were in control now. The humans were fleeing, hiding, and dying in the streets. It was all going according to plan. He turned to one of his officers, a smaller alien named T-Ras, who stood beside him. "Do you see this, T-Ras?" Drak asked. "This world is weak. It will crumble under our might." T-Ras nodded, his face cold and emotionless. "Yes, Commander. But the humans are resourceful. They will not give up so easily." Drak smirked. "Let them try. They are no match for us." But just as Drak finished speaking, something caught his eye. A human soldier, standing alone in the middle of the destruction. His uniform was tattered, his weapon worn, but his stance was firm. He wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He was standing his ground. Drak's eyes narrowed. "What is this?" he muttered under his breath. "A single human? What could he possibly hope to accomplish?" The human soldier looked up at Drak, meeting his gaze. There was no fear in the soldier's eyes, only defiance. Drak couldn't understand it. How could a single human, surrounded by the might of his forces, stand so firm? The human raised his weapon and shouted something, but the wind carried his words away. Zrak turned to his officers. "This is the moment we must break them," he said, his voice cold. "Prepare to strike." But as the aliens closed in on the soldier, something unexpected happened. The soldier did not flinch. He did not run. Instead, he began to move towards them, each step deliberate, his resolve clear. Zrak's confidence started to falter. The soldier's actions were not the desperate moves of a weak creature, they were the actions of someone who knew something the aliens didn't. Humans might be outnumbered, but they would never go down without a fight. The tension between the two sides grew thick, and Zrak's mind raced. This wasn't part of the plan. What had he missed? What made this human so fearless? As Zrak prepared to give the order to strike, the soldier spoke, his voice carrying over the battlefield. "You've underestimated us," he said, his voice calm but filled with a fierce determination. "And now, you'll pay the price." Zrak's heart skipped a beat. Was it possible that this human could be more dangerous than he thought? He was about to find out. The human soldier charged forward, and the battle was far from over. The sound of explosions echoed through the air as the alien ships hovered above Earth, their weapons blazing down on the helpless cities below. The once proud cities of humanity, now nothing more than burning ruins, were slowly being erased from existence. The aliens had begun their war, and there was no escape. But something unexpected was happening on the ground. The human soldiers, initially overwhelmed by the sheer power of the invaders, began to rally. The streets were filled with chaos, yet, amid the smoke and fire, the humans showed no signs of surrender. In the heart of one city, General David Turner, a seasoned commander, stood watching the destruction unfold. His face was grim, but his eyes were fierce with determination. The human forces were outnumbered, their weapons far inferior to those of the aliens. Yet, something in his gut told him that there was hope. He wasn't going to let his people die without a fight. "This isn't over," Turner muttered, clenching his fists. He turned to his officers. "The aliens might have advanced technology, but they don't understand the heart of a human. We have to use that to our advantage." At that moment, the aliens began their next assault. Massive laser beams shot from their ships, hitting buildings, leaving nothing but smoldering remains. The human resistance had been trying to organize a counterattack, but it felt like a losing battle. Yet, amidst the chaos, Turner could see it, the determination in the eyes of his men and women. The fire that burned in their hearts was stronger than any weapon the invaders possessed. They weren't just fighting to survive, they were fighting to protect everything they loved. Turner activated the comms. "All units, prepare to move. We're not running. We're fighting back. Now!" In the distance, an alien ship hovered low over a major military base. The humans knew it was their last chance. The aliens were planning to take the base and wipe out the last of humanity's military command. General Turner had no time to waste. He ordered his soldiers to attack with everything they had. The battle that followed was brutal. Humans fought back with the fury of those who had been pushed to the brink. Every gunshot, every strike, every move was full of raw determination. The alien forces, confident in their superiority, never expected to face such resistance. They were built for precision, for overwhelming force, but not for the chaotic, unpredictable nature of human combat. One by one, the alien ships fell from the sky as the human forces launched makeshift missiles, hitting their targets with surprising accuracy. The humans weren't trained to fight alien technology, but they knew how to survive. They adapted, improvising weapons and tactics as they went along. On the ground, the aliens had to contend with guerrilla warfare. Human soldiers used the terrain to their advantage, hiding in alleyways, ambushing the invaders at every turn. The human soldiers' resilience proved to be a greater threat than the aliens had anticipated. "Are you seeing this?" one of the alien commanders shouted as a blast from a human-made bomb took down a ship in the distance. "This can't be happening," another alien officer said, disbelief in his voice. "These humans are not what we expected. They're relentless." Zrak, The alien leader stood high above the battlefield, watching the chaos unfold. He had underestimated the humans before, but now he was beginning to realize that this wasn't going to be as easy as he had thought. The humans were proving that they were more than just a species to be conquered. They were a force to be reckoned with. As the battle raged on, the alien forces struggled to regroup. Zrak knew his troops were beginning to lose their grip on the situation. The humans had shown them something that made their cold, calculated plans falter: unpredictability. And that was when the tide began to turn. The humans, despite their initial disadvantage, had found their strength in the chaos. Every inch of ground that they fought for came at a high cost, but they were pushing the aliens back, one step at a time. Back in the heart of the city, General Turner looked up at the sky. He knew the aliens hadn't given up. They had underestimated the human spirit, but they hadn't learned their lesson yet. "We'll make them pay for every inch they've taken from us," Turner whispered under his breath, his eyes blazing with determination. The alien commander, Zrak, watched the unfolding scene, his pride beginning to crack. "They're still fighting back," he muttered to himself. "How can they?" Turner's voice crackled through the comms once again. "This is only the beginning. The fight for Earth has just started. We will not bow. We will not break. And we will never stop fighting." As the human forces regrouped and prepared for their next move, one thing became clear: this battle was far from over. The aliens may have arrived expecting an easy conquest, but they were about to learn a harsh truth. Humanity would not go down without a fight. The aliens had thought they could crush humanity in one swift strike. But as the battle raged on, they began to understand that the true strength of humanity wasn't in their weapons, but in their spirit. Zrak's confidence began to waver as the aliens faced their first real challenge. Zrak ordered a retreat, but it was already too late. The humans had already proven that they were not a race to be underestimated. They were a race that would fight until the very end. The sound of the alien ships retreating echoed through the air, but the humans were ready. This war was only just beginning. The war had escalated quickly, but the aliens were beginning to realize something they had overlooked. Earth wasn't just a planet to conquer, it was a battleground for something far more dangerous than technology: the human spirit. General Turner stood on the battlefield, his heart racing with anticipation. It had been days since the invasion began, and the aliens were still strong. But the humans weren't giving up, not without a fight. They had something the aliens could never predict: they had the power of unity, ingenuity, and sheer determination. "We've got them on the ropes," Turner said, his voice steady, as he addressed his command center. "But now we need to hit them where it hurts. We know their weaknesses. It's time to turn the tide." His troops, scattered across different battle zones, were doing the impossible. Against all odds, the human forces were starting to adapt. They had learned quickly, studying the alien technology, observing their movements, and exploiting the smallest of weaknesses. The aliens, who had once considered humanity a primitive species, now found themselves battling an enemy that was evolving right before their eyes. A small group of engineers had been working around the clock to reverse engineer the alien weaponry they had captured. The weapons were powerful, but the humans were relentless. They had already built their own makeshift shields and laser weapons that, while crude, could give them an edge in the next confrontation. The turning point came when a team of human soldiers managed to infiltrate an alien command post. They didn't have high-tech gadgets or advanced tech, but they had something more valuable: resourcefulness. Through careful planning and a bit of luck, they made it past alien defenses and planted a virus in the alien communication network. The virus spread through the alien fleet systems like wildfire, disabling their targeting systems and rendering their ships blind. The aliens were blindfolded, their once precise strikes now erratic. Back at the command center, Turner's eyes widened as he watched the aliens struggle. "It's working," he whispered. "They can't see us coming." Human soldiers began launching surprise attacks from all angles, taking advantage of the chaos. Their guerrilla tactics, ambushing, disappearing into the shadows, and striking when least expected, were proving far more effective than anyone had imagined. The alien forces, trained to expect straightforward battles, found themselves caught off guard at every turn. One human squad, using nothing but a handful of homemade explosives and makeshift armor, managed to take down an alien cruiser. It wasn't much, but it was enough to break the alien front line. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had taken a massive piece of alien technology and used it against them. "I knew they'd underestimate us," said Lieutenant Maria Harlan, a field officer leading one of the squads. "They think we're just a bunch of animals to be slaughtered. But what they don't realize is that we fight for something more. We fight for each other." Zrak, the alien commander, stood in disbelief as his forces were overrun by an enemy he had thought would be wiped out in a matter of days. His once confident demeanor was slipping. He had never encountered a species so unwilling to bend, so stubborn in the face of certain defeat. The human forces didn't fight like warriors, they fought like survivors. "This cannot be," Zrak hissed, clenching his fists. "They're outmatching us with primitive weapons. How is this possible?" His officers, equally stunned, had no answers. The alien forces were supposed to be the strongest in the galaxy, yet they were faltering under the relentless human attack. Zrak had thought it would be an easy victory, but now he was seeing the price of his arrogance. The humans, whom he had dismissed as weak and fragile, had shown a level of resolve that was alien to him. Meanwhile, in the human command center, Turner's eyes narrowed as he watched the aliens retreat. This wasn't the end. It couldn't be. But it was a victory, a small one, but a victory nonetheless. The humans had proven that they could stand up to the invaders, and Zrak's retreat was a sign that the aliens were not invincible. "This is only the beginning," Turner said with resolve. "The aliens thought they could break us. But now they know what happens when you underestimate a human." As the retreating alien forces regrouped, the humans prepared for their next move. General Turner could feel the shift in the air. The battle was far from over, but now the humans held the advantage. The aliens, for the first time since the invasion began, were unsure. The fear of humanity's relentless drive was now starting to seep into their ranks. Suspense. The humans had shown the aliens that they were not the easy prey they had expected. But the aliens were regrouping, preparing for a counterstrike. General Turner knew that victory was within reach, but it would take everything the humans had to hold onto it. Ending suspense. As Zrak stood at the helm of his ship, watching the humans rally, he muttered to himself, "This will not be the last time we meet." His fingers clenched tightly on the control panel as the alien forces began to prepare for a second wave. The war for Earth was far from over. The air was thick with tension, and the smell of smoke lingered in the streets. Earth cities had become battlegrounds, their once bustling streets now filled with craters, debris, and the sounds of distant explosions. But despite the chaos, the humans were holding strong. Their determination was proving to be the aliens' greatest challenge. General Turner stood at the front of his command center, studying the holographic map of the battlefield. He had never seen Earth in such a state of devastation, yet he could feel a fire growing inside him. The aliens had underestimated humanity. They believed this war was one they could win in a matter of days. But the humans had other plans. "This is it," Turner said, his voice calm but resolute. "It's time to hit them where it hurts." The humans had learned from their early mistakes. They were no longer on the defensive. Now, they were preparing for a final strike, a decisive blow that could turn the tide of the entire war. Turner had been working with his top scientists to develop a weapon that could target the aliens' main power source. If they succeeded, it could disable the entire alien fleet, leaving their invaders vulnerable. "We found their weakness," said Dr. Emily Graves, the lead scientist. "Their ships rely on a central energy core that powers everything. If we can disrupt it, their entire fleet will be paralyzed." The plan was risky. It required infiltrating the aliens' heavily guarded command ship and planting the device directly on the core. But the stakes were too high to back down. Failure meant the end of humanity. Success meant a chance to finally drive the invaders off Earth. "We'll need to move fast and stay under the radar," Turner ordered. "I want the best squad on this mission. We can't afford to fail." Meanwhile, the alien forces were preparing for their next move. Zrak, the alien commander, was furious. Despite the overwhelming strength of his fleet, he couldn't understand why the humans were still resisting. Their technology was primitive, their army small, and yet they kept fighting. Every time he thought they were finished, they came back, stronger and more unpredictable. "We've underestimated them," Zrak growled, pacing in his command ship. "But this ends now." Zrak knew the humans had infiltrated their systems before. It was only a matter of time before they would try again. This time, however, he wouldn't let them get close. He ordered his forces to increase security on the command ship and deployed his best warriors to safeguard the core. Back on Earth, the human squad preparing for the mission was ready. They had gathered the tools they would need: explosives, hacking devices, and a stealth suit designed to blend into the alien ship's environment. Each member of the team knew the risks. They understood that this mission wasn't just about defeating the aliens, it was about saving everything they had left. Lieutenant Maria Harlan, the team leader, stood at the front of the squad. She looked at each of her comrades, her fellow soldiers, and saw the same fierce determination in their eyes. They were going to do this, no matter the cost. "This is it, team," she said. "We get in, we plant the device, and we get out. No heroics. We stick together, and we survive." The squad nodded, checking their gear one final time. As the countdown began, the soldiers made their way to the launch point. The journey to the alien command ship was fraught with danger. Every corner held the potential for an alien ambush. But the humans knew what they were capable of. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and their survival. The night sky was illuminated as the squad launched into the atmosphere, moving toward the alien ship, hidden in the darkness of space. Inside their stealth shuttle, they moved in silence, the hum of the engines the only sound. As they approached the ship, the tension grew unbearable. Every movement, every breath, was calculated. One wrong step, and they would be caught. The alien ship loomed ahead, its massive structure casting a shadow across the dark expanse of space. "This is it," said Harlan, her voice a whisper through the comms. "Everyone, stay focused." They docked with the alien ship, and the hatch opened. The soldiers moved quickly, slipping inside the massive vessel. The ship's interior was cold and sterile, the walls lined with alien technology that hummed with energy. The humans crept through the corridors, using the shadows to hide their movements. It wasn't long before they reached the core room, the heart of the alien fleet. The device they carried had to be placed directly on the central energy core. But as they approached, the sound of footsteps echoed through the hall. The aliens had spotted them. Zrak's orders had been clear: no one was to approach the core. The aliens rushed toward the human squad, their weapons drawn and ready. It was a trap. The humans had walked straight into it. But the humans were ready. Harlan signaled to her team, and the first explosion went off, throwing the aliens back. The squad fought back with everything they had. Blasters lit up the room, and the air was filled with the sounds of combat. The humans moved with precision, taking down the aliens one by one. But it was clear, they were outnumbered. Just as Harlan reached the core, an alien warrior appeared, charging toward her. Without hesitation, she launched herself at him, tackling him to the ground. She pulled out a small knife and plunged it into the alien's side. The warrior let out a shriek of pain, but Harlan didn't stop. She planted the device onto the core. The core hummed as the device clicked into place. The countdown began. "We've done it," Harlan said, breathing heavily. "Now, let's get out of here." But just as they turned to leave, the countdown reached its final seconds. The explosion rocked the entire ship. As the explosion rang out, the ship shook violently, and the core started to destabilize. Would the humans survive the blast? The fate of the mission, and Earth, now hung in the balance. The alien ship was crippled, but the fight was far from over. As the ship began to break apart, Harlan's team made their way to the escape pods, praying they would make it out in time. The humans had won a small victory, but at what cost? The real war was just beginning. The night was quieter than usual, but the calm felt like the eye of the storm. Earth had been fighting for weeks now, and while small victories had been won, the war was far from over. The alien forces, although weakened, were still a massive threat, and the humans had yet to deal the decisive blow that could end it all. General Turner stood on the balcony of his temporary headquarters, staring out over the city that had been the focal point of so many battles. The once bustling streets were now silent, save for the distant sounds of the resistance gathering their forces. The sky, which used to be clear, was now filled with the remnants of fallen alien ships and debris from the alien bombardments. Despite everything, the humans had not given up. They were still here, still standing. Turner turned to his officers, his face grim. The aliens are regrouping. Zrak knows what we've done to his fleet, but he's not ready to admit defeat yet. We need to hit them where it hurts, directly in their command center. But Turner knew the stakes. They had pushed the alien forces to the brink, but one last battle stood between them and victory, or annihilation. We're taking the fight to their doorstep, Turner declared, clenching his fist. This will be the final stand. The human forces were mobilizing. A new weapon, an EMP designed to completely disable alien technology, had been developed. It was risky, but if it worked, it would cripple the alien ships and their communication systems. This was the human chance to win it all. The plan was simple but dangerous: infiltrate the alien command center, plant the EMP device, and escape before the entire facility collapsed under the pressure of the alien retaliation. The resistance force, a motley crew of soldiers, engineers, and civilians, was ready. They'd fought together in the trenches, lost comrades, and defied impossible odds. Now, they would go on the offensive, fighting to push the invaders off Earth once and for all. This was their world. And they would defend it at all costs. Maria Harlan, the lieutenant who had become a symbol of humanity's resilience, looked over the squad one last time. This is it. No turning back now. We all know what's at stake. We've already lost too much, and we're not going to let them take any more. The squad nodded, their faces steely with resolve. The streets they walked through had been littered with the remnants of alien forces, burned vehicles, fallen soldiers, but the humans had never stopped fighting. With every step, they became more unified, determined to finish what they had started. As they neared the alien command center, the air grew thick with anticipation. The ground vibrated beneath their feet, the hum of alien technology echoing through the steel walls of their stronghold. The squad moved swiftly, their movements sharp and calculated, staying hidden in the shadows as they approached the main entrance. Inside the center, Zrak surveyed his forces, preparing for the inevitable final confrontation. His warriors were ready, but there was doubt in his mind. He had underestimated the humans at every turn, and now, he feared he might be too late to correct his mistake. Still, he would not retreat. His pride and honor were on the line. Earth would fall, and the humans would be crushed beneath his heel. They think they can defeat us, Zrak muttered, looking over a holographic display of the battlefield. Let them come. I'll show them that they are nothing before the might of the alien empire. But as the human squad slipped past his defenses, Zrak's sense of unease deepened. The humans had been unpredictable, and their resilience was something he could not understand. They had proven time and time again that they were not to be underestimated. Meanwhile, Harlan's squad reached the core of the alien command center. It was vast, filled with alien soldiers and advanced technology. Their target, a massive energy core that powered the alien fleet. If they could disable it, the alien ships would be rendered useless, giving the humans their first real victory. But just as they began to plant the EMP device, alarms went off. The squad had been spotted. Move! Now! Harlan shouted. The squad sprang into action, firing at the incoming aliens, taking cover as the sound of gunfire and explosions filled the air. It was a battle like none they had faced before. The alien forces were well trained, but the humans fought with something the aliens couldn't match: heart. Every shot was made with purpose, every movement intentional. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a fight for everything humanity had left. Zrak's forces began to swarm in, but the humans were ready. They'd learned to fight in the shadows, to strike without warning. One by one, the alien soldiers fell, and the EMP device was secured, its countdown ticking away. It was almost done. But Zrak wasn't about to let this end so easily. His personal guard, a group of elite alien warriors, entered the room. They were faster, stronger, and more experienced than the average soldiers. The final fight had begun. In the chaos of the battle, Turner's voice came through the comms. "Harlan, you have to get that EMP out of there. It's now or never." Harlan's squad pushed forward, determined to complete the mission. The final stand was upon them. Alien soldiers fell, but they were also losing ground. The EMP was almost ready, and they could feel victory within their grasp. They just had to survive long enough to get out. The EMP device was ready. But with every passing second, the danger grew. The final fight was a test of humanity's strength. Would they be able to finish the mission and escape in time? Would Zrak's elite forces crush them, or would humanity's will to survive shine through? With the EMP now set to destroy the alien power core, Harlan's squad fought tooth and nail to survive. As the countdown to the EMP's detonation began, they knew this might be their last stand. But they had one last card to play. They wouldn't go down without taking the alien empire with them. Zrak stood in his command center, watching as the countdown reached 0. This was the moment. Would humanity succeed, or would they be wiped out in a final, desperate battle? Only time would tell. The explosion was deafening. The ground trembled, and the very air seemed to ignite as the EMP device went off. In an instant, the alien command center, once a symbol of invincibility, was reduced to chaos. The energy core sputtered and sparked, and the once feared alien fleet was thrown into disarray. The bright lights of the core flickered and then died, leaving only the eerie hum of failing systems and the faint echo of the explosion that had rocked the entire facility. For a moment, everything was still. Silence washed over the battlefield as the dust settled. The humans had done it. They had struck a blow that the alien forces hadn't anticipated. The power that had sustained their war machines and their dominance over Earth was gone. But it was far from over. Lieutenant Maria Harlan stood amidst the wreckage, gasping for air. Her clothes were torn, her face streaked with dirt and sweat, but her eyes burned with determination. The EMP had worked beautifully. The alien fleet was disabled. But the mission wasn't over yet. "Team, we did it," Harlan whispered into the comms, though her voice was filled with uncertainty. "But don't get comfortable. The real fight isn't over. We need to move. Now." The squad was battered, bloodied, and exhausted. Some of their comrades had fallen along the way, and the cost of their victory had been heavy. But they had achieved the impossible. They had taken down the heart of the alien invasion. As they made their way out of the alien base, Harlan couldn't shake the weight of the moment. Yes, the aliens had been struck a devastating blow, but they weren't finished. The fleet was disabled, but the war was still alive, still burning. Back on Earth, General Turner was watching from a command center, the flickering screen in front of him showing the aftermath of the EMP strike. The humans had fought bravely and managed to cripple the alien forces, but there were still scattered units across the planet, still battles to be fought. "We've hurt them," Turner said, pacing in front of the map, his fingers hovering over the holographic projection of Earth. "But we need to press the advantage. We can't let them recover." Across the globe, the human resistance was making its final push. But with alien technology still out there, still operational in pockets, it was far from an easy victory. Earth cities were in ruins, its resources strained. The humans had proven their strength, but now they had to rebuild, physically, emotionally, and politically. The Earth they had fought for no longer looked the same, and its future hung in the balance. Zrak, the alien commander, was fuming. His once mighty fleet, now grounded and damaged beyond repair, had been completely overwhelmed by the human forces. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, eyes glaring out at the ruined landscape below. His empire was crumbling, and despite his arrogance, he now knew the truth. The humans, they are more than we ever anticipated, Zrak hissed. We underestimated their resilience. Their refusal to give in. But it is not over. This planet will still fall. We will rebuild, and we will finish what we started. Despite the growing desperation in his voice, there was still a quiet sense of defiance. The alien leader wasn't ready to surrender. Even if his fleet had been decimated, Zrak was still a force to be reckoned with. And though he may have been shaken by humanity's unexpected resistance, he was not finished yet. As the alien forces pulled back into space, Zrak gave a chilling order: regroup and prepare. We will not be beaten by the likes of them. The humans have only won a battle. They have not won the war. Meanwhile, on Earth, the victorious humans were already making plans for the next phase. Earth's militaries were forming alliances, pooling resources, and rebuilding what had been lost. But there was no time for celebration. The true cost of the war was evident in every broken building, every lost life. Yet, there was hope. Hope that the aliens were no longer invincible. Hope that humanity could rise from the ashes. But as General Turner and his officers made their final calculations, one thought weighed heavily on his mind: would the aliens return stronger? The question lingered, unanswered, in the back of his mind. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Though the alien fleet had been shattered, their leader's words still echoed in Turner's mind. Could they truly finish what they had started? With the remnants of the alien forces scattered across the globe and in space, the humans had to be prepared for the possibility that this would not be the last battle they faced. Turner's fingers hovered over a series of battle reports, his mind racing. We've won today, he said to himself, but tomorrow, we may have to fight harder than ever before. The sound of footsteps echoed behind him. A new report had arrived, this time from a satellite in orbit. A transmission had been detected, an alien signal. The war, it seemed, was far from over. The battle was over. At least, the war for Earth was. The alien fleet had been crippled, their strongholds burned, and their forces scattered. Earth, though battered and broken, had held its ground. The survivors now stood at the precipice of a new world. But victory had come at a cost, the scars of war were everywhere. The planet had lost much, and the people who had fought to save it now had to rebuild from the ashes. General Turner stood atop the ruined tower that once served as Earth's central command, his gaze cast over the landscape. The cities were in ruin, the skies were filled with debris, and the oceans had been torn apart by the alien bombardment. Yet in his chest, there was something that had not been there before: hope. The humans had done what no one believed possible. They had driven the invaders from their planet. We did it, Turner whispered to himself. But at what cost? The loss of life, the destruction of entire cities, the countless sacrifices, these were the prices humanity had paid. The question now was how to move forward. How could they possibly rebuild? Could Earth ever be what it once was? The answer, Turner realized, was that they could never go back. Earth would never return to its pre-war state. The world had changed forever, but that didn't mean it was doomed. It meant that the humans who had fought for this planet, who had bled for it, would now become the architects of its future. They had proven they could fight, and now they had to prove they could heal. Behind him, the hum of the rebuilding began. Small groups of survivors were emerging from the shelters, picking through the wreckage, already starting the hard work of restoring what had been lost. People were gathering, engineers, soldiers, and civilians alike, all with one goal: to reclaim their world. General Turner turned to face the group of survivors standing in the shadows behind him. They were the leaders, the survivors, and the architects of this new world. Maria Harlan, who had led her squad through the heart of battle, now stood beside him, her gaze steely yet hopeful. Alongside her were others, engineers, doctors, strategists, and everyday men and women who had fought, and would continue to fight, to rebuild. "We've got work to do," Maria said, her voice firm. "But we're not alone in this. We've got the skills, the heart, and the willpower to rebuild this world. We just have to keep moving forward." Turner nodded. "We do this together. The same way we fought together. We've proven what we're capable of. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. Now, humanity faced a new challenge: how to thrive again. How to ensure that the mistakes of the past weren't repeated, and how to turn this devastated planet into something stronger, something better. Maria looked out across the horizon. In the distance, teams of engineers and builders were already working on restoring the damaged infrastructure, while doctors and scientists were helping the wounded and sick. The world was in a state of recovery, and although it seemed like an insurmountable task, the humans were approaching it with the same determination that had gotten them through the darkest days of the war. But there was more. The alien threat, though severely weakened, was not entirely gone. Zrak, the alien commander, had retreated, but the remnants of his forces were still out there. Turner had not forgotten that. Neither had Maria. The victory on Earth was just one chapter in the story of their survival. "We've won the battle, but the war isn't truly over," Turner said, turning back to Maria. "Zrak will be back. We can't afford to rest on our laurels. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." Maria nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "We will be. We've learned enough to know that we can't take anything for granted." Earth had changed, and so had its people. The humans had proven themselves against a threat far greater than they could have ever imagined. They had faced annihilation, and instead, they had emerged victorious. But now, the real test began. The fight to ensure that humanity would not just survive, but thrive, would not be easy. It would take every ounce of strength, unity, and ingenuity they had left. The people who had fought the aliens now looked towards the stars with a new sense of purpose. They had defended their world. But they were no longer just defenders. They were builders. Explorers. They were going to make sure that Earth would never again be vulnerable to invasion, to fear. They would rise again, stronger than ever. As Turner and Maria prepared to lead the reconstruction, an alert suddenly flashed on Turner's screen. A new transmission was coming through, an encrypted message from space. A faint signal from deep in the galaxy. Turner's finger hovered over the console, his mind racing. Was it the aliens returning for a second wave? Or something else entirely? The screen flickered to life, and a voice echoed through the speakers. "This is Commander Zrak. You may have won this time, but the war is far from over. Prepare yourselves, humans. The galaxy has not forgotten your defiance." Turner's expression hardened. "I knew it," he muttered. "The real battle for Earth has just begun." The humans had survived the invasion, but now, they faced a new challenge, preparing for the long road ahead. The galaxy was vast, and humanity's place in it was far from certain. But one thing was clear: the fight was not over. And the humans were ready for whatever came next.